Yo, doing a little reading this morning. I tell you, man, what are things going on in the world, man? Why is it that the United States feels like they are the vanguards of democracy? Why is it that they feel that they are so privileged to make comments on poor people's countries and political systems, advocating more democracy in those systems in a hypocritical way? For example, I read in here a little article that was published in a newspaper here in Nicaragua. It says here that on September 15th, when we were here in Nicaragua celebrating our independence celebrations in the Washington, D.C. area, the Congress and the administration of Obama are denouncing the political processes of Nicaragua. They're saying that we're leading into a de facto state, that we're limiting spaces of democracy in this country. Which, when they're saying all of these things in this article, the only thing I can think about is all the things that the United States government is doing to limit democracy and democratic spaces in its country. They say here in Nicaragua we limit democratic spaces. In the United States, y'all don't even allow any third-party candidate to participate in your public debates for presidents. In the United States, y'all don't even limit the terms of your Congress or your senators so they can reign for life, being political dictators. You say, oh, we could vote them out and stuff, but is the voting to be trusted in the United States when y'all don't even vote on paper and pencil like we do here in Nicaragua? Y'all vote with voting machines? You see, what has the United States a little upset and worried is the fact that this year in Nicaragua, they decided that they're not going to allow any foreign observers to their election. Because years and years have gone by in this country without any type of political problems. And we've seen more political problems existing in the United States where they should have observers in their elections. They want to say that Daniel Ortega is some type of person who's trying to hoard all the power for himself and limit other candidates from running. The United States does the same thing. Do you think Hillary Clinton wants Jill Stein going up against her in a debate? No, because Jill Stein, the Green Party candidate in the United States, would burn out Hillary Clinton and burn a fire upon Donald Trump, which would cause an imbalance in their system, and then they would blame the Green Party for allowing Donald Trump to win, just like they did in the elections before in the United States. In my observation, why the people here in Nicaragua love Daniel Ortega and love the Sandinista, because they're the only ones that do anything for the people here. All the time that the liberals were in power here in Nicaragua, there was no development in our infrastructure. No roads were being built. Now the roads are being built. Now we got parks going up. People get things from the government that they never would get. Imagine my little boy got a Christmas gift from the president of the country. Our president here in Nicaragua can take the time to give gifts to his people. When in the United States, all your presidents can do is sit there and talk about how they have to go give the gift of democracy to other people's countries as an excuse for invasion, as an excuse for political intervention into countries that are developing outside of the plan of the United States, like Nicaragua. Why are they saying these things about Nicaragua? Because right now in Nicaragua, they want to build a canal here. The Chinese and the Nicaraguan government. Not to say a Chinese government, but a Chinese businessman. We don't know if it's really going to take place or not. But in the same way, that's a threat to the United States' geopolitical control of this Americas, because they control the Panama Canal. And if there was to be a canal in a country like Nicaragua, which is known to be a resistance against the capitalistic ways of the United States, it would be a direct competition to their economy and their base for all of the different maneuvering they do in their society of greediness that perpetuates their false democracy in the United States. You know, I'm sorry, maybe some of y'all in the United States say I'm being anti-patriotic or whatever, but when you really look into the case of situations like this, The United States right now is having a lot of violence around its political campaigning. They're having a lot of corruption going on that we're not even seeing, because all the scandals behind some of these politicians like Hillary Clinton, she's killing off people to not even allow those to come to the forefront. I mean, that could be true or not true. There's reports that are suggesting these things. But we do know that Hillary Clinton is a prime example of a dictatorship in the United States, because she has been so many years in the political system, aligned with so many corporations that want to sell us the next war or sell us the next pharmaceutical drugs to our children, that she could tell you she's a Democrat and she runs on the Democratic ticket. And of course, every 2-4 years or whatever their election process comes up, she goes out and campaigns and gets everybody to vote for her, and that they say is a democracy. I would have to say that the political system in the United States is moving towards a fascist system. Because even with all of this farce of a democracy, these voting schemes that they do every 2-4 years and make you think that elections and democracy really change any policies in the United States are false. We know that a lot of the lobbyist groups in the United States are who are controlling the government of the United States. A lot of the big money people are the ones who are controlling all of the political system, the laws of the United States. You know, this is not no conspiracy theory stuff. You could look it up and follow the money people. You could follow where the money is going to see that the state of the United States is coming farther away from a democracy and more closer to a fascist system. Here in Nicaragua, our system has always been democratic. We have, at the communal level, we have local town councils, communal groups that have most of the power in their communities. We have a large amount of movement of people here, of freedom of speech. If you go, there's not been any cases of censorship in Nicaragua to that extent of what the censorship is taking place in the United States. I mean, imagine censorship in the United States even in this election. Look at what happened to Dr. Drew, who really is not a very radical or political person, but just because as a doctor he made a balanced statement about the health of Hillary Clinton and the health of Donald Trump, he lost his job. They took him right out of one of those major corporate channels that he had a TV show on. Furthermore, censorship in the United States would be the blocking out of the entire public debate of all the other political parties that are running for positions of power in the United States, whether it be in their local councils or whether it be in some of the major elections. So what are the signs that fascism is taking hold in the United States? A strong sense of patriotism expected by all, and anyone who doesn't go along with that gets scorned. Look at what happened to the football player, Colin, for not standing up to this Pledge of Allegiance, ridiculed and scorned by all of, It's funny that he's doing that now, because when I was in high school, I used to not stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance in high school, and they wanted to suspend me, not so much for political reasons like he's trying to do, but for religious reasons. But at the same time, that's one of them. There's no contempt for individual human rights. Look at the situation of the police brutality in the United States on the black population. I mean, no matter if you're someone that talks about all this other crap that the media puts out there as to excuses why black people find themselves in these situations, it's obvious. And as a person living in the United States, as a white person, there's far more different in the way of treatment towards a white person being engaged by police and a black man being engaged by police. And that all has to do with racial profiling that we used to talk about in the 90s. And now we're seeing the effects of racial profiling amped up even more because of the militarization of these police forces and some of the training that they're receiving. So no more human rights, no contempt for human rights inside the United States. But they're worried about the human rights of people like in Nicaragua. So they make these statements to try and say, oh, we have to police the human rights of the world, but we can't take care of human rights in our own backyard. Obsession with national security leading to military supremacy. Obsession with national security. They're checking your emails, they're checking your phone calls. They're not allowing you to have any type of privacy. All because they say that we have to have a strong intelligence for our military to fight these terrorists. News media controlled by a few. I think there's about 5 companies that control all the media in the United States, whether it's print, TV, or radio. Government and religion blended together. Well, we haven't really seen that too much in the United States, but a lot of these politicians that run on some of the tickets try to pretend like they're religious and get all the religious people to back them up, and then in the end they don't do nothing for them. Corporate power protected. Come on now, everybody knows how much the power of the United States is protected when it concerned to corporate power. But me as an individual, if I go and I mess up and I lose a whole pile of money, I'll end up in jail. But all those bankers, none of them ended up in jail during the last economical crisis. Labor power suppressed. When was the last time we've really seen a big labor movement in the United States? Intellectuals ridiculed and disrespected. Someone like me, okay, maybe I don't talk intellectual enough for you. Maybe I don't put on the jacket and tie that is expected in the corporate media. And even if I was to do that and I was to talk about some of these issues in a very intellectual way, they still won't give media attention to it. Just the other day I was watching RT and they had all these pontiffs up there talking and very intellectually. But at the same time, it was so boring what they were saying. On top of that, no one's gonna study what these RT pontiffs say, because you know they're disrespected. They're saying everything that RT says is what the Russians want them to say. Maybe that's true, maybe that's not true. Critical thinking is mocked. Look at that. There's not even a chance for any type of critical thinking to come up in these situations of the police situation in the United States, the police brutality going on. There's no idea to say, hey, instead of having protests, let's have an open dialogue between white police and black thugs to see what each other says about each other. Let's not just have it one time, let's have it every week in our communities. Let's start a talking between black and white people in the United States about these issues. People don't want to talk about it. What do they say? We don't want to talk about race, we don't want to talk about religion, we don't want to take politics because we can still all get along. But there has to be some type of critical thinking injected into these illnesses of the United States' political system. Government cronyism and corruption protected. How much prime example, Hillary Clinton. Well protected for all of the illegal activities she's done, and her corruption protected on all levels. So these are some of the signs that fascism is taking hold in the United States. I'm reading it from just a little thing here called Real Truth Now. I think they're on Facebook. And I just thought it was interesting to share that with you, especially after sitting here reading from La Prensa about how the United States feels about the country that I live in. And well, being here in the country, I could tell you that democracy exists here more than anywhere else in the United States could ever be. If you study the revolution history here of Nicaragua, you'll see that when they started this system, it was a revolution of a democratic socialist kind. And that has existed all the way up until now. So don't let anybody fool you. We don't have nobody like Daniel Ortega taking guns on the street, forcing people to vote for him. You know, of course, like in any political situation, it's not perfect. I'm sure there's at some point some type of political fight between the two-party systems, because look at the United States. The Republican and the Democrats are always trying to fight each other or outfox each other or get more power. And the same thing goes on here in Nicaragua. But it just so happens that if you were to go, and if I were to even take this video and go to the majority of the people here in Nicaragua and ask them about their president, they would say they're very happy with him. Because first off, we're not in any type of war business. We're not supporting any countries in war. On top of that, what gets the international people upset at Nicaragua is we take a stance of resistance against some of the injustice in the world. Imagine Nicaragua has not allowed an Israeli embassy to be here in Nicaragua because they're standing in solidarity with the Palestinian people. And in 2017, we want to stop all of the land grabbing by Israel and all of the illegal settlements. And what country is standing up in solidarity with them? To say, look, that's wrong what they're doing, and until you stop doing that, we're not even going to allow you to have an embassy here in this country. You know, Nicaragua is a symbol of resistance against their system. So anything that the United States or the Western powers can try to throw onto Nicaragua, they're going to do. And we're right here with this recent election, just because our president said he's not going to allow election observers in this year, they're all up in arms and saying our democracy is getting threatened here in Nicaragua. Yo, democracy don't even exist in your own country. Clean up your own yard before you go try to clean up other people's yard, man. It's just my little message today on the Knockout News. Hope it doesn't get me in trouble with some of the politics, because usually I don't like to talk about politics in Nicaragua, you know, because I'm just a guest here in this country. But at the same time, I mean, I have to say something when I see things like this going on, because I'm not going to allow my viewers out there to get a skewed perspective of this country, this beautiful country that I live in. So viva Nicaragua, viva Daniel, adelante.